Hello everyone, I'm here with a tier list for the matrices or the chipset effects in Tower of Fantasy. I will be rating these based on their effects, and another thing to keep in mind is the 2-star effects or upgrades on these SR chips. They do have less stats overall than a base 0-star or no-star SSR chip. It's slightly less, but at higher levels, it eventually really compounds to be a bit of a significant difference. So keep that in mind, and why I will be keeping these lower down, as well as to get the set effects of these SR chips. You are required to have at least 3 of them equipped, while the SSR chips have 2 set and 4 set bonuses. Although for a decent chunk of the SSR chips, the 4 set bonuses are either super specific or kind of shit. So anyways, let's just get down into it. Right. So starting off, we have APOPHIS. So up, as you can see up above, that's the 3-piece set effect of APOPHIS. This set effect is kind of, it's not great. Basically what happens is, you deal damage the less HP you have. You get the maximum boost when you're at 20%, and the damage boost is 20, 25, or 30%. Because of how much damage you need to take before you can start really making use out of the set, and how you have to basically keep yourself alive, and any type of self-healing will interfere with the set, I'm going to unfortunately put this in the D tier. There's also just better matrices available, so keep that in mind. The next one is LING. This one again, I'm going to be putting in the D tier above APOPHIS. The way this works is, when you deal damage to a grievous target, you get a damage bonus. This damage boost though is only effective on the weapon equipping this matrice. And the other problem with this set is that actually triggering the grievous debuff. In order to do that, you have to fully charge your weapon discharge gauge, which is at 1000 charge level, and then you have to deal damage using the weapon that can apply the debuff. You have to do it immediately after you charge up the gauge. When you do the dodge and trigger the Fantasia effect that slows down time, that does not work on triggering these debuffs, and weapon discharge skills also are unable to trigger Volt, Grievous, Flame, or the Ice Shell or the freezing effect, unless the weapon has a special discharge effect that will apply it. So keep that in mind. Currently, the only way to really trigger this is, again, LING or Shiro will have to do a normal attack as they fill up the charge gauge, and that's why I'm placing it in the D tier. Alright, next one we have Barbarossa. This one's a bit of a tanking one. Upon switching to this weapon, you get damage reflection for 3 seconds on a 30-second cooldown, and when you switch to another weapon, you get another damage boost for 5 seconds, again on a 30-second cooldown. The damage reflection on this cannot crit, and it's based on the damage that you receive. While the effect itself is quite decent because of the low uptime, it's still effectively just as bad as these other ones. I'll probably put it below LING. Alright, the next one, Echo. This one's actually really good. If this was an SSR chip 2-piece effect, I would put this all the way up maybe high A tier, maybe even S tier, because this effect is really powerful. When you use a discharge skill to switch this weapon, you gain some discharge back. 80 keep in mind that 1000 discharge is in fact a full discharged weapon skill gauge, so this does help give you a little bit of extra momentum when you switch between weapons, which makes this set really powerful, especially when you want to do things like do a quick swap into the scythe to break a shield and then switch back quickly to your weapon. Depending on your charge gauge, you might even be able to do another discharge skill immediately after. So this set is just really powerful. So I'm just gonna put it in the B tier, unfortunately, because of its lower stats. But at 2 stars, if your SSR chips are at 0 star, I would put it up here. But because it is a 3-piece set and not a 2-piece, it stays here. Next one is NA. This one's a decent DPS one, but it's not exactly that easy to trigger the dealing damage greater than 100% of attack. Very few weapons like have hits that actually hit that high, like hit over this. And by the time you actually can, something that boosts damage percent instead will be far more effective for something that just gives you more stats. So unfortunately, I'm putting this in the C tier. Now for the Frostbot. This one is when your health is lower than 40%, you using a discharge skill to switch to the current weapon, restores HP. So like you have to switch to the weapon that has this chip when you're at low HP, and it will heal based on your attack. The amount of healing you get from this is fine, but because of the conditions being quite low, again, it's gonna go in the D tier. Like, it is good to help you survive a little bit, but it is a 3-piece set effect, and, you know, it doesn't really do anything else other than that. The HILDA one. This set effect is super niche, but basically, it increases your attack by 15%, 19, or 22.5% when there's no enemies within 6 meters. There's a problem, though. Most of the time when you're fighting things, enemies are a lot closer than 6 meters to you. So in most situations, this set effect basically doesn't exist. So D tier it goes. Though there are a few niche situations where you can make use of this set, but that's mostly relegated to when you're doing joint operations or something and you have the enemies very far away from you because someone else has aggro. But even then, only a few weapons can actually hit far enough, right? So again, it's still quite niche. The Pepper one. This one you get for free after completing all the Chapter 7 missions in the guidebook thing. Right? Increases the speed of obtaining weapon charge by 10, 12.5, or 50%. While this one does give you weapon charge, which is quite valuable, the issue is because you have to be using the weapon that has the set equipped in order to actually get the boost out of this, and you generally want to use your main damaging weapon, right, your main DPS weapon, instead to fill the time. I'm unfortunately going to have to put this in the C tier. Well, it is possible to make use out of it. Most of the situations, you're probably never going to actually use this set. Now, here's Robot. This one's actually quite decent for quick-swap shatter weapons. When the target is shattered, you poison the target and deal damage equal to 45, 60, 56, or 67.5% of attack every second for 10 seconds. This is actually quite a lot of damage over time when you shatter them. But again, because this is a 3-piece set and it is an SR chip, I'm unfortunately going to keep putting I guess in the top of C tier. It is quite good on quick swap weapons that can do high shatter like the King Scythe, but again, because of how the set works, it's not great. Now here's the other really strong SR chip set. If this was again a 2-piece set, I would actually put this like in the S tier, but because it is a 3-piece set, and if you can farm a high star like on the SOBEK set, I would definitely again put it in the A tier if you can get this to 2 stars. The set effect is quite powerful. You get a damage boost based on for each enemy nearby, up to 3 stacks. So potentially, if you have this at 2 stars, you can get up to a 27% damage boost, which is quite significant. But I'm going to put this above Echo's weapon, not weapon chipset here. It is very powerful though. It is the best DPS SR chip you can have on your weapons. Now, we'll start with the 2-piece sets on these ones. I'll go over the 4-piece set effects later on, but I think what's more important is to look at the 2-piece sets first, because the 4-piece sets, some of them are good, some of them are kind of shit. But anyways, here's Coco Ritter. Increases healing and healing capability and healing received. So you'll just do 10% more healing, or and when you get healed, you'll take 10% more healing as well. If you're playing a healing weapon, this 2-piece set is actually quite strong. But because of how niche it is and you have to be playing a healing weapon, I'm going to put in the C tier. If you had the 4-piece effect, that would be instant S tier for the 4-piece. We'll go over that later, but this 4-piece effect is actually really strong. You just buff everyone's attack by 12.5 or up to 20% for 6 seconds when they get healed, right? When they get healed, they'll get the attack buff, and this applies to you or any of your teammates. This is very strong. You'll see why later on. You know, maybe I'll just put it in the B tier because of that. And again, it does have the SSR stats, so there's that. Crow. This one's actually a really strong set. It is one of the only ways you can get crit damage. Basically, when you hit a target with less than 60% health, you'll get 24, 30%, 36, or 42% crit damage. For a DPS weapon, I'm going to put it in the S tier just for the 2-piece effect. The 4-piece is actually quite good. It actually got a buff from the CN version. It's a slightly different effect, and it actually makes it quite universal. We'll go over that later on, but it's a very strong set effect for DPS weapons. Now here's Huma. Hitting targets with dodge skills inflict a bleed, dealing damage every second for 5 seconds. Right, this is actually quite good. An extra damage over time effect. This is quite easy to trigger because you can pretty much just spam this and apply this on like all the enemies really quickly. You get a lot of free damage, and it's just going to be constantly ticking. Again, this thing already, the 2-piece set effect, not quite S tier, but it is the 3rd best 2-piece effect for a DPS weapon. You'll see what the best one is later on when we get to it. Now we have King. As you can look down below, his 4-piece set effect is actually quite shit, but his 2-piece set, it's actually quite decent. When the target is shattered, you get a damage boost for 25 seconds. Only the highest level effect of this is applied, and this actually works on all of your weapons. You just get a buff that will just last for 25 seconds as soon as you shatter the target. This is more of a support weapon for shatter weapons, and this set is actually really strong. So I'm going to put this in the S tier because, again, you get an 8 to 14% damage boost when you shatter the target. A very strong chip. Now for Meryl. Oh, Meryl, your 2-piece set is kinda not great unless you're playing tanks. Basically, if you're less than 30% health, after being attacked, you gain a shield. So it's extra just survivability, which is fine, but the cooldown's a bit too long, and there's going to be another chip later on that has a better 2-piece effect for survivability. So I'm just gonna put this as the first C tier matrices. Her 4-piece set is good, but you can only use this on Meryl's weapon. Alright, Nemesis. This is another support chip. You cannot farm this chipset. The only way to get this is from the gacha. So you would have to be pulling up on the event gacha for this chip. This is the 2-piece set is very powerful. It is nerfed from the CN version. Like the current 4-star effect here, not 4-star, 3-star effect on this chip, right? The 15% is actually the base value of it on CN. Like this chipset was so powerful, they actually nerfed it really hard. But again, even then, it's still very powerful. Basically, again, when your target is healed, right? When you heal a target, they gain an 8 to 15% volt attack boost, right? So their volt attack is just boosted by 8 to 15%. This applies to everyone, right? Even like other players in your party. Again, it's a very strong set. And because of that, again, S tier, I'm going to put it below King, mainly because this only works with boosting volt weapons, but Nemesis's weapon itself also heals and is a volt weapon, and she also provides volt resonance, right? You definitely want to use this on Nemesis if you can. Alright, the next one. This is the best DPS 2-piece set in the game right now. Increases damage progressively by 1% upon hitting a target, stacks up to 10 to 20 times, lasts 1.5 seconds. Basically, you just keep hitting the target and you build up stacks for damage. The faster you hit them, the faster you stack it up. Very powerful, 10 to 20% damage boost. Instant S tier at the top. Alright. The 4-piece effect only works on Samir's weapon. Again, this set effect was so strong, it did get nerfed in the global version from the CN version. The base effect was like, it was quite a bit higher. And I think it was like, the base one was like 1.5% or something. So like, you were like starting off at 15% damage, and it went up to like 30%. Like, it was quite a lot more powerful, but again, it was just so strong, they had to tone it down. Alright, Shiro. This one's again a really decent set. It's basically you deal more damage and shatter to targets with more than 50% health. Because you have to be shattering the target, and this is for shatter weapons, and they need to be more than 50% health, you don't really have that high of an uptime on this effect. But it is quite good at boosting your stuff for shatter, and the 4-piece set effect is basically worthless. Because generally speaking, most battles, they're either like, they either like end basically instantly, and this thing doesn't reset until you wait 5 seconds after battle. So you can't really just reset this for things like frontier clashes to fight the next boss. So you lose the 4-piece set effect pretty quickly. But the 2-piece set effect is quite decent. Again, I'm gonna put this below Huma in the A tier. Tsubasa. This is basically just a slightly better version of Hilda's set. But again, you can't be close to enemies, right? There have to be no enemies within 4 meters. Because of that, most of the time, again, you're not going to be able to make use of this set. So I'm going to put this in the C tier as well. And the 4-piece set effect is pretty useless. You have to do a headshot. Well, actually, the 4-piece set effect is actually quite decent for that weapon, but only on Tsubasa's weapon. We'll go rank that later. But you pretty much, like, the 4-piece is what saves it, not the 2-piece. 2-piece is pretty awful. And then finally, we have Zero. As you can see here, this is the better tanking 2-piece set. Upon using a discharge skill to switch to the current weapon, you gain a shield equal to a bit of your attack for 6 seconds, right? The shield is actually quite strong, and you just need to use discharge skill to switch to this. If you're playing tanking weapons, you can just keep switching between these. It is quite good. And the 4-piece set effect is decent too, because you can still switch out of the weapon and you'll still keep the shield and the effect. I'm gonna keep this in high B tier. Because again, it is a bit more niche, but it is still quite a good effect. Now, what we're gonna do now is I'm going to clear all this so I can go about doing the, like, ranking them on the 4-piece set effects, right? So I'm going to just reset all of these, right? I'm gonna have to just remove them all. Alright, I'm just gonna... Alright, there we go, I reset it. There we go, there was like a reset button. For some reason, it wouldn't let me just drag it off. Right? So, we'll go back again here, and we'll rank them based on their set effects. I'm gonna just drag the window a bit more. Right, here we go. Well, since we're at 0 already, we might as well go back here. And I will actually put the 4-piece set effects based on their categories, not based on, where they go. I'm gonna call this tanking. This will be a tanking one. I'm gonna call this DPS. And then I'm just gonna put this healing/support. And then the last category will be specific character only. Healing or healing. Alright, here we go. Healing/support, and these ones will be character exclusive down below. But anyways, tanking, obviously, Zero's chip, very good. Alright, let's go backwards and to the previous one. Tsubasa's. This is more of a, I think I'll just remove the support there, and I'll just put healing. Yeah, I'll keep that as healing/support, actually. healing slash support, and this one will be Tsubasa only for support. Right, Tsubasa only for support. I'll put the 4-piece set effect here. You can trigger this by using her skill, and you basically get extra attack boost. And it lasts for 8 seconds. It is quite decent for like a support weapon. Like, despite being a DPS weapon, you can use a higher starred Tsubasa weapon as like a buff bot to increase your damage if you wanted to. It is actually quite good, and the 4-piece set actually synergizes with it. Alright, Shiro. This one is just useless. 4-piece effect. Right, you're just not going to make use of this 4-piece set, so I'm going to put Shiro's chipset just down here. That's just unfortunate, I've said it before. Alright, next one's Samir. I'm just going to put at a row below Samir only, right? Because only Samir can use this, right? Unfortunately, only Samir is capable of making use of this, but it is actually a really good set effect for her. They actually did buff the 4-piece set slightly from CN to be a bit more useful because they nerfed her 2-piece. But like again, this is just exclusive to Samir's. The actual CN version of this effect actually was unable to crit, but this one can. The extra damage from this, because it just adds extra flat damage to the electrical explosion procs. But you do require I believe it's the 1st star upgrade on Samir's weapon. Alright, Nemesis effect. This is healing support, obviously. It buffs damage. Very strong effect here. And the 4-piece set effect, again, you get extra damage buff. You basically just add extra damage to like your attacks or your allies' attacks if you heal them. Very good effect. Pretty straightforward. Meryl's. This one, it is a tanking only one, but it's specifically for Meryl. She gains extra damage on her whirlwind skill, and she does heal a little bit, right? It is quite good for survivability, but again, this is more for just Meryl's. So add a roll below. We'll put this down here. Meryl. Wait, I spelled it wrong. Meryl only. Right? Meryl only. Only Meryl's weapon can use this. It's actually quite decent on her, but only on her weapon if you're tanking. Alright, Kings. This one is just useless. You have to like, here you go. Hits restore health based on a percentage of your damage dealt when attacking, and that's it. And it must not, like, you can't heal that much as well. Not exactly a very good effect, right? It does help with survivability, and it is a little bit better than the CN version, because the CN version, I believe it required you to kill them. It's just a bit of damage mitigation. It's technically for tanking, I guess. Gives you extra mitigation. So maybe I'll just put it up here. It's just for tanking extra mitigation, but the shielding from Zero's 4-piece and the 2-piece is still better. Alright, here we go. Huma's. Reduces the attack of all targets within 8 meters that are taking damage over time. This one's actually pretty simple. Any weapon can apply this effect. It is good for tanking. You just weaken your enemies so they deal less damage. You basically give the entire party a little bit of damage mitigation because you just made all of the targets just do less damage. Very good effect for tanking. Alright, Crow. This one's universal. Any DPS can use this. 4-piece set effect is good, though I don't think it's good enough to beat running a 2-piece Samir, 2-piece Crow on most DPSs. But this effect is still quite good. And we'll just move on. Coco Ritter, this is a very strong buffing support. Right, healing support. This one, you just need to heal them and everyone gets an attack boost. Very simple. Again, it's a very strong effect. If you're playing or using a healing weapon, definitely recommend using one. And I just realized it got cropped out the rest of my list. So let me just scroll down so you can see the full thing, because I kept adding the rows. But here we go. There's the full list. DPS at the top with Crow's Universal. Samir can only use her 4 set. These are the tanking ones, right? And then you have Meryl only. And the useless 4-piece effect is on Shiro's. But yeah, that's it for this video. Give it a like if you liked it. Maybe subscribe down below or a comment. And I hope to see you guys again next time. Alright then. Goodbye.